Well, hi everyone. How are you?
Good.
Welcome to our Saturday. We have somebody new joining us, a life-designed roundtable discussion. Oh, hey, Michaela, how are you? Welcome.
Thank you.
Hey,
I'm good. How are y'all?
Oh, good. We're just getting
good.
started, and we're talking about cultivating happiness. And so we might also share songs that we listen to or sing when we're wanting to be happy. So if you have a song to mention as we chat today, we'll include a link to it in the comments or the description of the video later. But hey, let's go through and introduce everyone. Angela, would you like to begin?
Sure. Angela Loamp, and I'm here as always because of my dear friend Myrna.
Yeah.
We've been nurturing partners since 2008, and I'm really dating us. I'm so sorry, Myrna, but it's the truth, man. I gotta speak it.
Yeah.
And I am excited about supporting a life designed. This concept that you and Brian have come up with is just stupendous. And whenever I work on it, I have to admit, and work on it meaning on the website, on some of the courses, the membership program, the offers you guys are coming up with, the team coaching, which is so awesome. I just am my happy place when I'm doing it. It's like a reward whenever I get to work on things that have to do with a life designed. So I'm excited about being here on the roundtable today.
Oh, it's really wonderful to have
It's
you.
awesome.
Hey, Brian, you'll go next. And Brian,
Sure.
you must have your name because your internet connection in Sri Lanka is a little rocky today, huh?
Yeah, I'll just do audio only. Yeah. So yeah, I'm Brian, co-founder of A Life Design with my mom, Myrna here. And yeah, we're just, working to build up a really cool place for people to kind of grow and heal and learn and improve different aspects of their lives. And we have wonderful coaches and contributors here to help everyone along the way. So this is our roundtable discussion on, various topics to just give people some helpful insights, into things going on in the world today and whatnot. So
Cool. Well, welcome from Sri Lanka. Hi, Matthew, properly. How are you?
Matthew,
You're
it's
hailing
fun
from
to be
the
called that.
UK.
That's right. My name is Matthew Waller, coming out of the UK, Hertfordshire. I'm a shaman, a few other things.
Lovely to have you here. Well, we have a very eclectic group of folks that are coaches and contributors. And Justin, who's not with us today, as Brian and I were discussing this idea, he said, a lot of people don't even know what coaching is. And those who benefited from coaching, we'd like to let other people be a fly on the wall and listen to coaches talk, about various topics or how they might approach things or things that have happened with clients. And so, yes, some of you are directly coaching, some of you are contributing in other ways, but you're having a fly on the wall experience as we discuss cultivating happiness today. So, hey, Michaela, welcome.
Hey, Michaela Berman here, based out of Austin, Texas.
In Austin today, very good.
Yeah. Mornin and I have owned several businesses together. And I'm really happy to support her and Brian's new endeavor. I think it's really amazing, and I'm happy to be here.
Oh, great.
Background in genetics, marketing, and health. So
Okay, great. Well, it's a privilege to share all your voices and in the topics that you do research on, work with clients on, and everyone who participates, with the life design can benefit from it. So I'm Myrna King, and I kicked off this idea with Brian, A Life Designed. I do primarily executive coaching, but also some personal coaching. I've been a meditation teacher for 30 years. And so Brian and I have trod the paths of the philosophy and the techniques and the tools of personal development and the spiritual communities. And so we bring some of that to bear. So as usual, I have slides. So brace yourself. Myrna's going to try to make the slides work. Hang on. I'm going to click share. I know Michaela's like, can she do it? Share. Okay, and now we're going to open this. Ta-da! Okay, present. We have slides. Can you guys see it? All you guys are turned off. Oh, okay, good. So today we're talking about cultivating happiness, and this is just to kind of give us some food for thought as we kick off the discussion. I have a couple of quotes today, and so I'm going to move up my Zoom screen here. The first one from Immanuel Kant, who was a German philosopher in the 1700s. Rules for happiness: something to do, someone to love, something to hope for. So I think that's a pretty good guideline. Sounds like we have somebody else. Is that Zian?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Zian. Hey, we're going over the slides. Welcome. We'll introduce you in a minute.
Okay.
The next quote is from C.S. Lewis, a popular, lay theologian from, the last century, I guess, 1898 to 1963. Progress for me means increasing goodness and happiness of individual lives. So he doesn't think about happiness for mankind, but each individual life finding happiness there. And then, of course, the last one from Yogananda, who was a guru in the line of gurus that Brian and I studied with. Since you are alone responsible for your thoughts, only you can change them. Therefore, start now to think only those thoughts that will bring you health and happiness. So he reminds us it's an inside job and we're the only ones who can do it. Okay, so this is a book that I sometimes recommend to clients. Happy for No Reason. I think it's like 10 years old. It might be older. And this woman interviewed 100 people that other people said were the happiest people they knew. So she just kept going out into networks. Who's the happiest person you know? And would you introduce me? And so she goes through a book that just sort of combines. This is the commonalities of people that are happy. And the number one thing is don't believe everything you think. So, because some of what we think is programming from other people or from media or from our family circumstances. So start with don't believe everything you think. And in one of the chapters, a story is told about a sage who was asked a question from a rich man. He asked the sage, what do I need to give up to experience true happiness and inner peace? And the wise man answered, the good news is you don't have to give up your stuff. So poverty doesn't offer happiness. The bad news may be harder. You must change the way you think. Oh, here's our last thing, something funny with memes, and then we'll come out of our slides. Don't ruin other people's happiness just because you can't find your own, unless ruining other people's happiness is what makes you happy, in which case carry on. Okay. We might have all known somebody like that. The next one is, okay, I danced like no one was watching. My court date is pending. Maybe I was causing public disruption when I did that. I don't know. And then our last one is, I was just sitting here overthinking the joy out of everything instead of just experiencing it. Okay. So we've had our slides. Thank you very much, you guys. I hope that's given you food for thought. Michaela, did something strike you? Oh, I see you have a furry friend.
Yeah, my furry friend makes me happy.
Good. You have that in common with Zian. He has some furry friends also.
I sure do.
So, Michaela, share with us a thought about happiness or cultivating it, and then we'll introduce Zian. We can come back to you if you want to think about it.
Yeah, I think chasing happiness is problematic because it's like it's an emotion, it's temporal, right? It's very temporary. So for me, I think about joy and how to create joy in my life or gratitude as opposed to happiness. So for me, happiness is fleeting and I don't really, my goal isn't to seek happiness.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, Zian, welcome. I know you're hailing from San Diego today, or the San Diego area. Are you ready to chat with us today about cultivating happiness?
Oh yeah, I think I am.
Okay, good. Well, it's good to see you. Anybody else have some thoughts? I know, Angela, you brought up a happiness study. So I don't know if you wanted to share that today.
Yeah. So learned a thing or two about happiness in my life for sure. And I would say it's an inside job. You know, the old saying, happiness is an inside job. Or maybe I just saw that somewhere and it's now an old saying to me.
It's good programming.
There came a moment, and it was very, very crystal clear when I was going through the moment of the ex telling me he wanted the divorce. That was like a crystal clear moment of it, where joy or happiness is inside of you, and then the things outside of you are not making you happy or whatever. It's just basically you're having a triggered reaction inside of you to what's going on out there. So it's not being a mother and my daughter making me happy. It's being a mother that makes me happy, that I get to like experience her energy and be in her life, right? And that's what's making me happy. It's not her that makes me happy. Likewise, when I think about people who, for instance, have given me, poor evaluations on a course I taught or whatever, it's kind of funny how that sticks out of my mind, but I don't remember all the positive evaluations, right?
Wait, there was a complaint. Oh
There
no.
was one complaint, 12 years ago, and I can still tell you exactly what the guy said, and isn't that made that indelible print in my head, so it's an inside thing. But I recognized a really cool, I went to this workshop where, because I work in career and helping people with their resumes and job transition and career transition, and one of my professional network, a group of people in the career development space, we hosted a workshop together and brought in a speaker who gave us a talk about positive psychology. It was just totally fascinating to me. And she brought to my attention a study that was done by Dr. Martin Seligman back in 2005. Now, Martin Seligman is now, I'm sure, retired. He's 81 or 82 years old this year. So he's, been around for a while. But he and his research partners came up with a really great study where they looked at different techniques to measure the lasting effect of happiness, like what can create happiness and thwart depression. And one of the exercises that he had the subjects do made an impression on me, and I've done it multiple times in my life when I have been like in this it's called the three good things exercise. And so what he had subjects do is at the end of the day before bedtime, they would sit down and they would write 3 good things that happened that day, but not just write the 3 good things, but why they were good things.
Oh.
And he talks about, I have a video, I can share you the link if you want to put it in the description, but from a video that he did about 14 years ago, but he talked about the fact that people, the reason why he had them go through and talk about why it was a good thing was the concept of immersing yourself in that good feeling, immersing yourself for a bit to really experience it, not just to have this fleeting, oh yeah, that was good. Because we take for granted so many of the good things when we fixate on the bad things, like I just explained, that I can verbatim tell you about an evaluation from like 12 years ago, 14 years ago, something like that. Anyway, he said that when the subjects did this for 1 week, they measured out 6 months of happiness. Like they got juice from that for like the next 6 months for just doing that exercise. But he also mentions that people feel so good doing it that they don't stop necessarily after a week. So I've written about this extensively. I've played with it. I've experimented with it myself during some of the darkest times, the dark night of my soul moments and stuff. And it really does make a difference. Maybe it's connected to, maybe it's connected to, I felt this way. And now that if I reflect on what's good, I feel a different way and I can hook into this inner happiness, so that was what I wanted to bring. When I heard you were doing Cultivating Happiness, I was like, I've got not just something that I know works personally, but there's like studies, scientific behavioral studies that back it up.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Hey, Brian, I wanted to bring you in and then we'll invite Maddie and Zian. You know, I've heard of that concept of the three things, but it was called golden moments. And I think it came from Happy for No Reason. One of the people she interviewed said that before this person went to bed, they would find three golden moments from the day. And the way they measured the golden moment was how it made them feel. So it could have been petting the neighbor's cat, or it could have been watching the hummingbird come to the feeder, or, you know, it didn't have to be big and substantial, but to find three golden moments. And then, Brian, as you know, feeling the feeling, you know, shifts the vibration that you're at. And then you go to sleep.
And let me just add that, you know, the specific experience. So during the 3 months? I think it was 3 months. I call it my 3 months in hell. It was like such a blur. After the ex said, I want the divorce. And then I had to unwind 28 years of relationship and the stuff that we shared together, right? And physical stuff. Like I had to go sorting through things. Books, what I take, what, you know, stuff that I'm going to take. But during that, like, very painful period of time that I'm like having to live in the same house before I could go and like restart my life. I did 3 things exercise. And sometimes it was such a challenge at the end of the day to sit here and go, okay, he was kind enough to actually, you know, make dinner for and include me in it. You know, I mean, it's like, I was like anything. I was thankful for my new iPhone. I mean, seriously, I remember journaling about being thankful for my new, anything I could find that would make me go, I got to get into this feeling of being like, I'm okay. I'm going to move through this. Right. And so anyway, that's just a true story about how I've actually literally used it in some darkest hours.
Well, and we can use these tools. So, hey, Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, so my internet connection's a little bit off, so hopefully you guys can hear me.
We can hear you just fine.
But yeah, okay, cool. You mentioned doing it before bed, Mom, and that's cool. That connects directly to, like, I would say Neville Goddard's work on manifesting. Like, you want to focus on good feelings before you sleep, because that's the time where you're transitioning from your conscious to like your subconscious, and you want to try to like reprogram the subconscious. So that's like a critical time to use for that. But just on happiness in general, I'll bring up some different theories of it, which I'm aware of, and we can kind of, you know, if anyone wants to, you know, run with those, we can look at that or bring up their own stuff. So for the song I chose, because I think it's cool to look at different song lyrics, I did Bobby Caldwell's "What You Won't Do for Love."
Oh, and we just lost him. Okay. What you won't do for a good internet connection in Sri Lanka.
I could have sworn he was going to say, Bobby, the other guy, be happy. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, I looked at that song too. Yeah. What you won't do for love. Well, Maddie, let's invite. Oh, hey,
can you hear me?
Brian, yeah, you're back.
Okay.
Yes, you're back.
Yeah, sorry, I cut out real quick. Are you guys can hear me?
We can hear you. You left off with
okay.
Won't do for love. Go ahead.
Cool. Yeah. So what I think is cool, like the lyric goes, "In my world, only you make me do for love what I would not do." What I think is interesting about this is the concept of finding something that makes you want to go beyond yourself. It kind of makes you want to go beyond your normal limitations, something that motivates you to do that. And I actually think that's a good source of happiness. That's kind of a unique take. Something that, whether it's a life purpose, something that makes you want to reach out and push beyond your normal limitations, like do something you normally wouldn't do, or whether it's a hobby, or whether it's love, or whether it's, you know, career. When you have something that's like, it enchants you to that level where you want to go beyond yourself. You want to push beyond your ordinary, you know, behaviors and limitations. I think that's an interesting take on you can use that for happiness. So I'll go over some other concepts. So if we look at like Aristotle, he basically argued that happiness was the result of basically excellence in life. If you just have various forms of excellence in various life skills, the result will be happiness, which is a pretty logical, practical take. So he said basically, if you just have all the virtues, like if you have intelligence, courage, discipline, like if you just do all the life activities right, you'll end up being happy. And one interesting thing about his view is he argued that intelligence is the primary virtue. Because he said if you have that one, then you can figure out how to get all the other virtues. And then through that means, you will basically be able to have, you can like stack life skills so that you end up having a good life. So that's an interesting take. You can use that approach to happiness. And then I want to talk about Eckhart Tolle a little bit. From some of his videos, he sort of has a kind of a Buddhist concept of Eastern sort of meditation concept of creating a sense of spaciousness within yourself as a means to happiness. So what this means is sort of letting your normal thoughts, letting your normal beliefs kind of dissolve so that you create having more space inside yourself. You're no longer trapped by certain ways of thinking or by certain like normal. You're creating sort of a sense of a vaster space of consciousness within yourself. That's kind of one sense of happiness that he's portraying. We can also talk about the American dream, the sort of the American sense of happiness, like the idea of the pursuit of happiness, which is in what, the Declaration of Independence, I think.
Yeah.
And basically, usually in Western concepts, the pursuit of happiness means like it's out there somewhere. Like it's out on the frontier. You have the right to go chase it and go find it. Like you can go chase the house, go chase the wife, chase the family, chase the perfect job. Like somewhere on the horizon, it's out there. You can go grab it, you know?
Yeah.
There is some happiness that can come from that, but I also think sometimes it doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, I call it the American mirage as opposed to the American dream. I think one good like movie that sort of touched on that was American Beauty. That movie, because you have this like suburban neighborhood that's where life is fully all perfect, but actually it's full of extremely dysfunctional families, and really they're not too happy. But if you look at like the paper bag scene where the paper bag is floating,
where
the character realizes you can actually find beauty and happiness in the character realizes you can actually find beauty and happiness in ordinary moments. So it's not always in this sort of American dream. But if it works for you, that's great. Like I'm not knocking it. Anything that works for people, like I support. And I also find for me, for myself, this will be my last thing and someone else can jump in. I found a lot of happiness in enjoying just hobbies and activities. I think this comes from being an only child. So you just have to find things to, you know, like I mean, I had to have hobbies. Like I poured a lot of my energy, my attention to hobbies, and I've gotten a ton of joy out of just various sports or different games or different things. So those are a few different takes on happiness, different approaches. If anyone wants to jump in, talk about those or bring in their own stuff, you know, someone else can jump in.
Hey, thanks, Brian. I know I want to go to Maddie and, you know,
I do
Maddie,
apologize for the background music. There's a party going on in the house, so there's.
oh, we can't hear it. You're fine. Oh, Maddie's Party Central today.
Yeah.
Well, almost used this meme and I didn't, but I'll give this to you and then I'd love to hear your thoughts. There's a meme that said, happiness is not buying things you don't need to impress people you don't like. So,
Including yourself.
yeah, there we go. So sometimes we get it a little convoluted. The idea of success or a happy life, it needs to look like it does on TV or something.
Yeah.
Share your thoughts on happiness, Maddie.
Happiness is such a big subject, and there's so many different different roads you can go down, because you can link it to all kinds of other words, can't you? Like joy, like contentment, like safety, like love. You know, and there's so many different words that we can connect to happiness, and I think that happiness is it is an emotion that is dependent on many other emotions in a way. I guess most emotions are interdependent of each other anyway, but yeah. And so I've always, much like Brian was saying, I think it comes from cultivating happiness has to come from an innate desire to be better, to improve, no matter what that looks like or where you're starting from.
Right.
And if you have that desire, and you know, it's not an egoic thing, it could be a survival thing, it could be, you know, this is where sometimes the material world inspires us in ways, you know, because you have to have food on the table, you have to have shelter, you know, there are many people who go to live this idyllic hippie lifestyle, and after 10, 20 years, they realize they're deeply unhappy because it was nothing about, you know, the other stuff. And that desire for me, you know, I was desperately unhappy for so many years of my life, but yet I still drove on, and everything. I was something of an extremist myself, so I would find things and I will perfect them, or you know, and this is how I've always been with everything. And so when I wasn't in a particularly happy state, then I was very good at focusing on the negative and perfecting the negative. You know,
This is super bad. I can make it super bad.
yeah, exactly. You know, without realizing it, thinking that I'm doing something that I want to do, or that I'm chasing something that I should be chasing, but really it's just the same old rabbit hole leading to just distraction and another wheel of repetition without any illumination whatsoever, just repeating old cycles. But still, in other areas of my life, I perfected things and I got better and better and better. And what happens is, over time, you shed things of yourself, and happiness comes and goes, much like Michaela said. You know, it's a state of flow. It's impossible to be happy if you're in a house full of really angry, depressed people. You can be cheerful. You can find ways to not let it affect you, but you're going to know that there is another situation out there where you can be your fullest happiness, or you know. So there are limitations to it. We can't just expect to be able to be happy all the time. But having said that, that state of happiness is a shedding of the self. That the quote from the was it Yogananda quote?
Yes.
Yes, that's spot on, because chasing desires, no matter how much intuition you may feel you have, or how much you feel you're being guided or led to this, that, and the other, then you know, it really just comes down to what inner processes are at play. And those moments when I'm not happy, where it would have been in the past, it would have been a trigger to destructive behavior. Now it's a matter of endurance. So just have to sit in that space and learn from it. And this has been, you know, huge for me recently, actually. I've been in a work environment with somebody really aggressive that was and it's an aggressive masculine atmosphere already, a real antagonist, and it really knocked me. And then I saw how that one knock then led the mind to go down other mind trails of dissatisfaction, and then this repetition of subject matter continuing, and just sapped away all of my happiness and my life force, you know. And it was interesting to observe that ego at play like that. You know? And
so in the end, it was a gift to you.
but
It showed you those things. Yeah.
It showed, well, everything that it was arguing that we should not be happy about, I kind of eliminated. So, you know, I'm talking very personally, but everybody does this, right? This is self-mastery. This is what we call the inner work, as opposed to the outer work.
Yeah.
And you know, I contemplated it, and so over the next few days, I just eliminated all of its arguments for limitation by coming to an arrangement where none of that stuff mattered, and this is the goal that we were going to aim for. So we'll hold this goal because that knocks all of that worry out of the way, and it was so effective. I'm trying to speak kind of colloquially. I don't want to get too
I understand.
about it, but
Well, you took the reins of this and examined it in a witness way, and then deleted this programming that was triggering, and said, I'm going to set all of that aside. So like, there's more expansiveness and breathing room then in how you act in that situation, because you eliminated these things. You did the inside job. Yeah.
But what it did show me was how long it's going to take to get that form of, well, I don't want to say happy, I say I'm going to have to wait because I'm happy now. I'm happy so much of the time. I am a generally happy person. That doesn't mean I'm in joy all the time, but I have my moments of joy. Like when I my most joyful is when I'm singing. So, I will sometimes I'll be scrolling or watching things, or I've just had a hard day's work, and sometimes I'll just switch everything off and then just sing for an hour or sing for half an hour, just me.
Speaking of
And
singing, tell me, is there a song? Now I know you sing your own songs, but is there a song that you sing when you're like, oh, I'm feeling happy?
not really.
No.
I've got loads. I've got songs because I'm a music addict. I'll agree. I'll admit to that. So I've got songs for every emotion and every different situation. But one that really springs to mind, it's funny because they just played it. Because one of my young girls, and this was in some of my more troublesome times. One of my little girls, she would have been about 2 or 3, and she was such a fiery character, so powerful for this tiny little person. But she used to hum that song by Pharrell, because I'm happy in that one. And she used to be humming that, and it brought me so much joy to think that that's the soundtrack that's going on in her little mind as she's walking around and going about her day. So that's one that whenever I hear that, it picks me up.
Well,
But happiness is
as a musician, I'd like to ask you something, Maddie.
sure.
And anybody else that has a theory about this, but there's something about blues music. I adore American blues music. The bluesier, like down and dirty bluesier it is, I love it. Muddy Waters, I mean, I love that stuff. And it makes me get a smile on my face. So some of it's actually funny. It's like they're going to the absurd extreme in some of these lyrics about my woman done left me, the insurance man is coming around and they're cheating on me together, and I don't want that insurance man around anymore. I mean, that's actually lyrics from one of the BB King songs where he talks about he doesn't want that insurance man coming around anymore because he's coming to sell some insurance he doesn't need or don't need. And I just think it's hilarious that they're taking these like deep, dark, like awful life experiences and then just kind of buoying them up a little bit in this blues music.
Turning them into art.
I mean, it's like it makes me happy to listen to blues music. That's so strange, I know, but I was just curious. Why do you think that is? Why do you
I have
think
a
that
connection
is?
to the blues as well. When I first picked up a guitar, it was the blues that came the most natural.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is funny, really.
Well, let me invite Zian into this conversation. Maddie, before I leave you, tell me the name of the artist who was your daughter's humming song.
Oh, it's Pharrell, Happy.
Pharrell. Okay. Great. Okay.
Oh, with you.
Because I want to include it in the notes for the show. Okay, Zian, you're up. Do you have a song that comes to mind that you sing when you're happy or that lifts your mood, or do you want to just talk about cultivating happiness or joy or contentment or a positive attitude, however you interface with it?
I'd like to go to the intersection of what Michaela, or do I have it right, Michaela or Kayla?
Michaela.
Okay,
Okay.
Michaela, Brian, and what Maddie said, and do so as quickly as possible without taking up too much time. I agree with what Michaela said about chasing happiness. The more you chase it, the more it eludes you. The more unhappy you're gonna be because you're chasing an idea, and when you chase that idea, you find out that it's very elusive. It's fleeting. It's not. It comes and goes like we've mentioned. It's not something that sticks around.
If you're
So
if you're chasing it, does that mean it's external to you? Is that sort of the disconnect? I'm chasing it out here.
Yes.
And actually, it's in here that it has to be found.
Yes.
So there's the confusion.
Yeah. In some sense, and there is a disconnect from what you're experiencing externally and what is going on internally. For me, for years I wasn't really satisfied with my own personal experience in life. But at the same time, when I think back to all those years, I was unconsciously seeking what I was already experiencing. Depth and breadth of experiences, the ability to learn and apply that knowledge in very effective surgical ways that I could use to better my own situation. But I didn't know enough back then, and now that I know a hell of a lot more than I did, I find that I am happier. That I have the creative intuition to solve my problems almost instantaneously, very rapidly. Back then, I would focus on problems for so much longer than I do now because I didn't have the creative juices flowing to understand how to overcome them, and now I have that. So that's personally what kind of gets me in a state of joy and satisfaction. Mm-hmm. And then what Angela said. Mm-hmm. I like what she said about immersing yourself in that sense of joy, because oftentimes we have very cerebral, analytical ways of seeking happiness that don't serve us. And you have to, and that coincides with what I do in my practice with clients called somatic experiencing or somatic, where you as she said, you immerse yourself in that feeling of joy and satisfaction. You go into bodily sensations and you allow that to soak in. You let yourself marinate in it as if it was just like a nectar of the gods type of thing that you're, a bubble bath that you're sitting in, that too, what Dan said, and then not chasing it. Yeah. And then I like what Brian said as well about gaining viable, practical life skills, and then the accumulating those skills, and it the effect of that synergizes, and it because that also plays into having the creative intuition to solve your problems instantaneously, because when you have more skills in many areas, then you're more likely to be more creative. And you need to be, this might be controversial to say, as a matter of fact it is, but not everybody is creative, because you have to be intelligent to be creative. But everybody has that intelligence inside of them. Some people aren't creative, they just haven't tapped into their own unique sense of intelligence. So everybody has their own unique sense of intelligence inside of them, but they have to pull it out and dig in to find it. So, and then what Maddie said, what was it that you said about happiness exactly? I lost my.
But a brain fart moment.
It was deep and complex, is what he was saying, basically.
Yeah. Well, no, it's okay. Zian, do you have a song that you listen to lift your spirits?
I have a wide range of musical tastes. I like gangster rap. I like disco, more intellectual, spiritual hip hop. I like house music, jazz, and blues. So I don't really have any one to listen to. It just kind of depends on.
Okay, great, good.
I want to throw out a song real quick that I sometimes admit this, and I might as well admit it to you guys too.
Okay.
I teach a class for aspiring leaders, and it's about influence and some of the psychology stuff that we do to influence people to, as we're trying to make changes in an organization or whatever. And we talk about attitude and the power of your personal demeanor, especially as a leader, and of course, this is important when you guys are doing any coaching and work like that too. But we talk about what you can do to shift your mood, to find some inspiration and shift your mood. And sometimes we'll talk about music as a means to do that. Like if you're kind of in this space, just put on music and then it'll shift your feeling of your energy. And so I admit that I'm like you, Zian, except I probably won't go into heavy metal and some things I just don't go into. But I have to admit that I do like musicals. I'm sappy that way. I love musicals, okay? And one of the songs that I would put on, inevitably, does not matter what mood I'm in, it's going to shift me. And it's from Oklahoma, "Oh, What a Beautiful Morning." Something about them singing to the cows about the beautiful morning makes me happy. Just
That's so good.
immediately. And then while we're on the subject of songs, I just want to bring something up. Brian said something about chasing the American dream. And Michaela, I'm so with you. Like, chasing? Why do we have to chase anything? This is kind of ridiculous, but it is what we've been taught. It has been like ingrained in program. But Talking Heads, 1980s, that's my jam, right? And so they have a song called "Once in a Lifetime." And in that, I think that's the essence of what that song is about, when he says, you may find yourself behind the wheel of a large automobile. You may find yourself in a big house. You may find yourself with this beautiful wife, and you go,
It's not
how
my
did I
life.
get here? Yeah. And so I'm like, that song to me epitomizes what you were talking about, Brian, about that, the futility of chasing the American dream, so to speak. Yeah.
Michaela, I want to invite you in. And first, I want to tell on you a little bit. So you and I have been engaged in a number of entrepreneurial adventures. What I love working with you, one of the things I love about working with you is we're usually facing an impossible situation. And the first thing we do after describing the impossible situation is we both laugh. Like, seriously? We've invited someone to come to an event, and then all the people at the event hate this someone, and we were killing ourselves to bring this someone to a poker tournament or something. And then everyone's like, we hate this person. We're like, what? We've been killing ourselves to get her there. And so we usually start in a very difficult situation by laughing at how difficult the situation is, and then we solve it. And so, but I like that about you. And we find the humor, which I guess is connected somehow to happiness. So please go ahead, Michaela.
Yeah, Myrna, that's a really good segue. And I think Zian and Angela both kind of touched on this. I don't necessarily think that happiness always comes from within, right? We don't live in a vacuum. We are very much impacted by the energies of people around us, by the environment that we're in. And we have to seek out external cues like humor and like the sun rising, right? So I really love a very simple but poignant song, "Three Little Birds" by Bob Marley.
Three Little Birds, okay.
Because it says,
Nice.
Would not have pegged you as a Bob Marley listener. Okay.
Oh, I love Bob Marley, and I love his sons as well.
Everybody loves Bob Marley, surely. I've never met a single person on the planet that says, no, I don't like Bob Marley.
Exactly.
Three Little Birds.
Yeah, so his verse is, "Rise up this morning, smiled with the rising sun. Three little birds pitched on my doorstep, singing sweet songs of melodies pure and true, saying, this is my message to you.
Very
Don't worry
shamanic. The
Yeah.
bird song welcoming the day, very shamanic.
Even Bob Marley had little birds reminding him that everything is going to be okay, that he's grateful just to be alive, to be able to witness the sun. And I think that's really important to consider, that like we are impacted by the cues and by the environment. And I think it takes trauma. I think it takes facing your mortality to realize that just being alive on this earth is enough. Waking up and being able to breathe fresh air, being able to have access to water. We forget, right? That life on this earth is very short and long. So we have to rely on things that give us dopamine and feed our endorphins. So, when I'm not in a good headspace, what helps me is going out and exercising, moving my body, nourishing my body.
Releasing those chemicals and using the tool of your physical body.
And then I can shift my perspective just by taking a walk outside or, eating something really nourishing for myself. And that'll shift my mood, so to speak. So I don't think it's from like me sitting down, writing what I'm grateful for every day. I don't live in a vacuum. Like at some point, that's not going to work anymore, right? We have to rely on each other to be able to support each other and to be able to create a ripple effect, because there's impact there. And so I think happiness is a communal
So
endeavor.
it's important to choose who you're around. You know,
Yeah.
as Maddie said, if you're in a house full of angry people, eventually, you know, it can disrupt your own mood. You have to work extra hard to sort of barrier that.
I
So
want to chime in here for a minute, Myrna, if I may.
please go ahead.
This is the thing, isn't it? Is that happiness, it is a state that comes and goes, but it's also something we can cultivate for ourselves, and that we can begin to cultivate more and more and more and more. And there is a dependency on external things, but again, we only experienced external things to the level that we're able to actually function with, to the degree of which we've healed ourselves. And so the body, the mind, the spirit, all of these things need to be nourished in various ways. And there must be a normal life. There must be family. There must be friends. There must be these things that cultivate happiness within us. They're really, really important. And it's about shedding off those parts of us that argue for our own limitations, all of those whispers of the ego, or not such whispers of the ego for many people.
Shouting.
Yeah, then you know, it's over a period of time, just taking away their arguments, through dedication and hard work, nourishing yourself. No happiness, nothing is achievable if you can't love yourself. Love for me is one of the most powerful emotions. I know it is for most people, but you know, it wasn't until I applied self-love in its entirety, like honest self-love, you know, as if you were looking at somebody else and you say, look, I love you, but you need to sort this and this out. You know? And a constant reevaluation of oneself and one's values, and you build a moral code and you stick by it. And the more that you do that, you will see not only an improvement in yourself, but you'll be able to see situations that before would have rocked you that you can endure. Or situations where before you would have allowed yourself to become emotional and you don't. You accept that other person hasn't reached that part of their life yet, or whatever's going on. But that doesn't mean then that you have to dwell in it. But then, you know, happiness is a state that is attainable in most moments, I think, as long as you're not in disaster or in pain or any of those extremes the other way. Then happiness is something that we can just have in our hearts as a continuous inspiration, you know, but it takes time, and it takes honesty, and it takes hard work, and it takes a mixture of all different types of factors. It's just, you know, it's I mean, the interesting thing is as well, there have been moments externally, particularly with love, where I've gone into a situation that isn't for my greatest growth at that time, but I've got to experience something beautiful, you know, and a consistent for a while. And to fall in love is something very special, especially when it's reciprocated and it's passionate and it's something beautiful, you know, if it's not to last. But that doesn't mean that the sadness that comes afterwards negates the happiness. You know, that and the more that you dismantle these self-destructive ways of thinking that discolor the world in a way that the universe is clearly working against me, when you just have to flip the perspective on that. And it's not, you know, so we can't always be happy and say, yeah, I had love, better to love than lost than whatever, because it still hurts, you know. But the more we can quell the mind, and the more we can just step into our authenticity as who we are as human beings, and then we tap into that innate appreciation of life and vitality and experience. And if we are constantly striving to better ourselves in whatever that looks like for any individual being, then you're going to experience more and more things, and you're going to experience more in them. And the interesting thing for me was, when I really began to cultivate happiness in my life, I realized that all along I'd already had all of the ingredients around me the whole time. Everything was right there, but I'm reaching out here, reaching out there, reaching over there. I just had to look inside and just take away all of those conversations that were going on through action and through time. And then I'm like, wow, it's all here. But now there's the next level, isn't there? And there's always the next level and the next level and the next level. Because now it's like, okay, what's my next level now to cultivate more happiness within me is to be more stable, to do whatever I need to do. I need my own home, things like this. But it's not, it doesn't come from a state of, well, I can't be happy if I have that. It's like, no, what do I need to do now? What steps do I need to take to go on my journey further and further on into this? Always
To enjoy
moving
the
forward.
journey, be happy along the way, even
Well,
though
exactly.
still achieving, still trying.
So it doesn't mean that you can't adhere to cultivate happiness. It doesn't mean you're chasing it, as long as you are not saying, when I get that, I'll be happy. When I get that, I'll be happy. Because it's never about the destination. It's always about the journey. That's where the wisdom is in anything. It's always about the journey.
I think it's all perspective too, when you get down to it, and it's a sliding scale. If you think of happiness as more like a verb than it is that we usually say, it's kind of like a manager of a business owner I once heard talk about balance. We talk about life balance, work-life balance. And he said, think of balance as not a thing you attain, but actually an ongoing kind of action, because you will feel like you have everything balanced, and then something will happen that will knock you out of stasis at work, and then all of a sudden, So I think the same thing happens with happiness too, in that we can say we're happy, and we might have a deep sense of contentment in what we've designed in our life, but the moment may not be happy, for instance, and that might shift, like Michaela mentioned, it's very temporal. Rather than quote a lyric of a poem, of a song, I'm going to quote a lyric of a poem. Kahil Gibran, one of my favorite early poets, talked about joy and sorrow in his book, The Prophet. And I found it so I could tell you guys that he says, your joy is your sorrow unmasked. And he talks about the deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. I mean, as a teenager, that really resonated with me. And he says, and this is kind of similar to what you were saying, Maddie, is not the cup that holds your wine, the very cup that was burned in the potter's oven. So he talks about the fact that sometimes very things that we find sorrowful are also the things we find joyful, and vice versa, right? In that you can't, and it's a contrasting situation. How do you know you're happy unless you've felt sorrow?
Experience sorrow,
right? So it's a spectrum of experience, really, when you get to it. Well, that's deep.
Michaela, did you have any final thoughts? I know we were talking with you. Is there anything you wanted to say? And we'll make a round robin as we depart.
Not really. I think everyone pretty much kind of shared.
Okay, well, I totally have to go look up Three Little Birds. So you've inspired me to learn that song.
Oh, Marley, that's the best.
Thank you for sharing that. Zian, how about you? Is there anything you wanted to share? And then tell people how to get a hold of you.
Oh yeah, there was I remembered exactly what the hell I wanted to say that I forgot. Maddie talked about just sitting when you're not in a good space of energy, you have to sit in that space of energy. You have to really just, and I'm going to say that, like, I'll say this time and time again, this goes back to getting really real with yourself, not trying to distract yourself, not telling yourself it's okay or it's fine when it's not. Don't gaslight yourself. Don't continue trying to be happy or grateful where it doesn't serve you. Like, sit in that space of energy and process why you're unhappy, why you're not satisfied. And that will either, when you're there, you're either able at some point in the process, you integrate what you're feeling and what you're experiencing, or you can release it. But what most people do is they stuff that feeling, that energy down into their chakras, and they don't process it. And that sense of ugliness that they're not processing, it sticks with them. And we're so immersed in this culture that I want to help people get away from, of overcoming negative emotions and unpleasant feelings with thought. And you absolutely cannot do that. That never works, because the nervous system does not function through thought. It functions through feeling. And so you have to process what you're feeling. You can't use thought to to overcome the functioning of the nervous system. It will never work. So that's what.
Let me jump in really quick as well. Let me jump in really quick.
Yeah.
The central nervous system does have an inner voice, and that's the process. And this might sound negative. I hope it doesn't come across too negative. But it's about the quote from that book. Don't believe the thoughts, because the thoughts that is infiltration. And that's as somebody who works in a psychic awareness, I'm very used to things coming in and out and having to decipher, what have I got here? Can I read it? Where's it coming from? And so it's fundamental for my skill set. And so that absolutely applies to almost every single thought that arises in my mind.
Is it even my thought? Starting with,
where is this coming from?
Yeah.
Where is it coming from? And mostly it is self-defeating habit patterns, the ego, the shadow, all these other aspects that are trying to take away the growth journey. Or old traumas.
Get of it all.
So Zian, share with us how people get a hold of you.
My handle on all my social medias, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, is Heavenly Wisdom Coaching. There might be an underscore in between Heavenly Wisdom and Coaching.
Okay.
And also you can reach me at lifedesign.org. And you can also get a hold of me through email at heavenlywisdom.coaching@gmail.com.
Oh, cool. Great. Good. Thank you so much. Hey, Brian, do you have any final thoughts on happiness or things you shared today?
Yeah, sure. So one thing I want to bring up is allowing ourselves to change our definitions of happiness over time. I think it's important to allow yourself to change your definition as you go through life. And there's different eras of your life. Like, what was happiness to you when you were 5 or 6 years old? What was happiness to you when you were 12 or 13? What was happiness to you when you were 18, 19, 25, 30, 35, 40, 50, 60, 70? Like, I think we have to be willing to be flexible with our definitions. Sometimes I think people struggle because they're trying to hold on to an older definition of happiness that worked in a previous era of life that really doesn't fit with the current era of life they're in. Like, so you kind of have to be willing to develop more fluid concepts. Like, I think Angela was touching on this, not being so static with your concept. Like, you don't have to define happiness the same way your entire life from start to finish. But I think the human mindset, like, people generally, especially from school, are sort of trained to think in terms of static concepts, because, like, you have to figure out, like, what the right answer is for the test. Like, if they ask you to define a word, you have to give a specific one answer that's correct. But in life, your concepts can be fluid and changing. It's not like school. Like, you can just flow into new understandings as you age and go through life. So I think we can do that with happiness and with our other understandings of things as well.
Oh, wonderful. So reaching you through lifedesign.org, is that you think that's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yes, absolutely.
Great. Hey, Maddie, any final thoughts, and how do people get a hold of you?
Okay, well, for my final thought, I would say this, that if you want to feel what happiness feels like and see a fundamental change in your reality, the first change you can make is to be kind. To be kind to yourself and to everybody else around you, regardless of what's going on. And when you can't be kind, there you have something to look at. And just follow that trail, and that will lead you towards some remnants of happiness. I promise. So if you want to get a hold of me, you can go to my website, newera.org.uk, or you can find me with Myrna on A Life Designed. So I do psychic healing sessions, coaching for ceremony, ritual, and all of those other things, that psychic stuff and shamanic stuff. That's the best way I can describe it right now.
Yes. Okay, good. Thank you so much. Angela and Michaela, you don't so much do coaching, but you do other things. Angela, you help people in the area of career. You want to share how people get
When people come to me, they're not happy with their job or their career. So I deal with a lot of what you would call career dissatisfaction. So I have conversations like this all the time about what people need, and then how much does the job need to make them happy versus they can find and be responsible for their happiness and
And also have
cultivating
a
it in
job.
other areas of their life, right? But versus staying in a position or situation where the environment is constantly triggering them in a negative way, it doesn't, it doesn't have a frequency resonance for them, or there's some abuse going on, they should not accept abuse and they should move on. So all sorts of things like this. And no, I am not a career therapist, people. Don't come to me for career therapy. But it does feel like sometimes I do like that. My favorite thing to do is help people with their resumes. And if you want help with a resume or a way that you want to brand yourself or figure out what your superpower is from a career perspective, look me up at insyncresources.com. But thank you
I'll have
for
the link in the comments in the description below.
and thank you for hosting this really cool topic today, Myrna. I appreciate it.
No problem. Okay, so I have a song that I have a story behind. It's
Yes.
Neil Diamond, and it's called Song Sung Blue. And he just he was listening to a Mozart Concerto No. 2, and he found the little melody in it. And then he wrote a song in like 10 minutes about how when you're sad, if you sing out your sadness, it goes away. You just sing it out and it disperses. So, and he said, we all find ourselves, sometimes we're a little blue, but we just sing it out. And it's kind of a happy little melody. And he kind of threw the song away to fill out an album. And then he was disappointed when his manager said, that's the best song on this album, and that's your hit. He's like, the little song about singing away sadness? And sure enough, Song Sung Blue was a big hit. And he's like, how is this the big hit? He worked so hard on all these other songs. They were so meaningful to him.
It comes from the heart.
I suppose the Mozart melody didn't hurt. But so Song Sung Blue is.
Do you know, Michael Jackson used to say that when a song came in, he'd grab it before Prince got it.
Yeah, there we go. So, well, it was so delightful to see you all today. Visit us at alifealigned.org, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Yes, and I just want to say absolutely amazing conversation. I loved everyone's contributions. Wonderful. Thank you all for being here.
Thanks,
Okay.
Brian.
See you guys next time.
Bye-bye.